Hi, my name is Nathan. I go by Peteparker, and the rule around my house is that I get to buy comics every week as long as I review them online. So that's what I aim to do. This review is about Carnage number 4, the newest small series, and it is by artist Clayton Crane and written by Zeb Wells. So, in case you don't know, I do spoil these books as I review them, so just a heads up, if you haven't read it, then you probably don't want to watch this because it'll ruin it for you. If you're not planning on reading it at all, then at least you'll get kind of the story based on what I'm talking about. So first of all, let's talk about the cover, in case you can't see it there, if you can see it. I kind of blew this cover off because of the combination, like Iron Man. Iron Man's been heavy in this book, so I thought this was Iron Man's face. But if you look closely, it's actually Carnage holding up Iron Man's mask on top of his face, which is actually really cool. And I didn't catch that until right before this review, so I'm liking this cover a lot more. I mean, Clayton Crane's covers are usually awesome anyway. I sometimes don't love his paints for the inside. This one was pretty good. Lots of white space, really. Not so dark, not so indistinguishable what's actually going on. So I liked this art in this issue specifically quite a lot. I'm really conflicted about this book. Like many fans, I am a fan of Carnage. I liked him for a long time. It's one of the original reasons why I started heavily buying comic books. It was something that, while I was growing up, I had picked up on a family trip, and I really enjoyed the whole Maximum Carnage series, despite too many characters and too much going on and jumping back and forth across multiple books. The idea of a full-fledged psychopath who also has powers is really cool, and it's the type of psychopath that's really not functional in real life. If you think about people like the Joker, for instance, he's probably a functional human being who also happens to be really smart and a super psychopath at the same time, right? But Carnage is more like the insanity that's deep within him is so overwhelming that there really is nothing else. So that really appealed to me. Somebody who really you can't, as a hero, you couldn't gauge what they're going to do, and because of that, it makes them more of a dangerous enemy. They don't really have motives, they're just crazy. He's not always portrayed like that, and Carnage has been used in a lot of mini-series and short stories to where it's not always played to the strength of his character. And then when he died in New Avengers number 4, I think, the Sentry flew him up into low Earth orbit and tore him in half and left him there. There was a lot of question as to whether or not he had really died up there, if he was even in the suit, if it was just the suit himself. So this series actually talks all about what had happened up there, and in this book specifically, you get the inner monologue of Cletus Cassidy as he's being torn in half and flying in orbit. So that's kind of cool connection, and really explains why he didn't die. But as much as it kind of makes sense, Mr. Wells goes over the facts that the symbiote used carbon dioxide and converted it into oxygen for Cletus Cassidy's lungs. But really, how well could you survive as half a body, right? Depending on where he was torn, I don't think just like his femurs were torn off. I think he was torn off, right in the midsection here with all your intestines and stomach and all that stuff. So in the last issue, they showed him with metallic legs and possibly metallic lower half of his body. I don't think they showed that much detail of that. But I question the ability of the symbiote to keep just from here up alive, even in space. Right? The breathing thing's okay. The nutrients or minerals, whatever, fine, right? He didn't have to eat. He was up there for a long time. Sure, why not, right? Buy that off. But just the damage itself to his lower half of his body just seems astronomical. It doesn't seem like anything could keep him alive after that. Who knows? And then not only did they keep him alive, but when the company, who is the bad guy in this series, recovered him and brought him back to Earth, they found Cletus Cassidy inside and kept him alive. Not only kept him alive, but gave him new legs, which means they probably had to give him a new lower half of his body, too. Now, so say the symbiote is magical and kept him alive for all that time, just being a half body or whatever. How the hell did this company develop not only fully mechanical appendages as in legs, but also like put back everything else together to where Cletus Cassidy is a fully functioning human being as well? It just seems so crazy. Along with that, I was disappointed with when Carnage originally died, because he was such a coolish character that really hadn't been used to his maximum potential. Even Maximum Carnage had him with a bunch of other semi-psychopaths following him, and there was a lot of focus on all the heroes that are involved and the team-up of Venom and Spider-Man. So it really didn't focus on how crazy he is altogether. I mean, you could make a Max book with Carnage as the villain, and it would be great, because he's so, like I said, crazy. So I am torn about whether or not Carnage really should have been brought back. And in case you didn't know, he's back there. He's got some mechanical legs that stick out of the symbiote, but he's got the symbiote back for the most part, and he's starting to wreak havoc again. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't leave him dead. They had some potential in the earlier stories to give the symbiote to someone new. I think the previous cover actually showed a female Carnage on the cover, which just happened to be somebody who had the symbiote and brought it back to Carnage. Seems inconsequential who it is now, if he briefly possessed it. But it would have been so much more interesting to see that direction, to see whether or not it was really truly the person that was inside and the symbiote that made it the Carnage crazy, or made it, a really evil villain, or if it was just the symbiote and somebody brand new could still be just as psycho. There was really some great inner monologue about the woman who is a good person and tries to help people, fighting against the monster of the symbiote, who was like in her mind and trying to convince her that they wanted to kill and stuff. That would have made such of a more interesting character. They tried to do something similar with when they invented Toxin in the Carnage versus Carnage, or Carnage versus Venom series, whichever one it is. But Pat Milligan, who was Toxin, his character was so flat. You didn't really like him on his own. And I really started to like Tanis Evans, or whatever her name is, the doctor who briefly possessed this symbiote. She was interesting and really tried to do the right thing in a lot of series, and was really going the extra length to try to help Shriek get over her problems or whatever. So that would have been a really excellent direction to go. And it's a bit disappointing to me at this point, who knows what they're going to do in the rest of the series, that it's all back to the same Carnage that it always was before Cletus Cassidy. He's great, right? But he was great for a while, and to cut it short is interesting. It's different. It's not what comics do. And now he's back, and he's basically the same as he was, more or less. There's a couple of interesting plot points in this story. The company that recovered the symbiote was using it to power these new Iron Man-ish suits that were also had a symbiote in it, so there was kind of a combination of powers between Iron Man and Spider-Man. And of course, as soon as Cletus has control of the symbiote again, he takes control of the symbiote within those guys in their armor, and they had some pretty lame names, I think on purpose. Like Code Blue or something like that. What was it? Royal Blue. They're all like crayon colors. Anyway, he takes them back over and then kills them instantly, and uses the symbiote that was grafted off of him inside their suits to not only pull their mechanical Iron Man suits into his own, but also pull their now dead bodies into his own. So he becomes this huge, like, beast of a symbiote machine thing with a bunch of dead bodies in there too, which is really gross and kind of cool. I have recently read almost all of Carnage's appearances, and he did in the Planet of the Symbiotes event or storyline or whatever, he did something similar where there was basically this planet of symbiotes that had heard about Earth and they were trying to come back to Earth, but he happened to get there along with Venom and Spider-Man, and he was absorbing symbiotes and became this gigantic, like 60-foot tall version of himself. So it's not the first time that he's actually reabsorbed symbiote-esque type stuff to become a bigger and meaner monster. That's one of the main plot points. Taking over the one-off Iron Man's suits and killing them is another part. And then the struggle between Shriek and her doctor, who still has part of the symbiote because she had a new arm replaced for her when she lost her arm. I even forget why she lost her arm. That's another problem with this series that a lot of people talk about, is that it's bi-monthly, so you don't get the next part of the story for 2 more months. I imagine when it's collected in a trade, it's going to be a really great story altogether, and I can kind of keep it together, but for the most part, I forget about the really early stuff because it was several months ago. So I don't really need to tell you the end because it's a little bit inconsequential. Doppelganger's involved, the Dr. Tanis Nevins, or whatever her name is involved, and Shriek is involved, and they all get back with Carnage again, and you know, there's Spider-Man and Iron Man trying to fight it, but the whole thing about this story is that it's a good story, but I just wish that they had not involved Cletus Cassidy. If they had gone a different direction with the suit, if that part of the Carnage storyline was put away and they were moving forward, at least I can't say for longer because it's been a long time. It was like 2002 or something when New Avengers #4, maybe it was 2005, something like that. It's been a long time since he died, but at the same time, I don't think you need Cletus Cassidy to make the Carnage character interesting. So, with that torn kind of representation, I'm going to go ahead and give this book a 3 out of 5. It would be a 4 out of 5 if Carnage had just died and somebody else had taken his place. If they had pushed further than one issue with Tanis Nevins as Carnage or whatever, her fighting it or the symbiote taking her over or something. There's only one issue left. This is 4 of 5, so we'll see how they wrap it up. It looks like Carnage and his buddies, Shriek and Doppelganger, are going to be out on the loose again, and they're going to be back to their old, mischief, I guess you can call mass murderings. So there you go, 3 out of 5, Carnage. Sorry this review's a little bit long. I have a lot to say about it. So I've been waiting since Wednesday, today's Saturday, to talk about it. So there you go. Check out my other reviews. You can look at them at marvel.wikia.com. I post them on ifanboy.com and several other places too. And you can also just follow me on YouTube, and you'll get them all every time I do them every week. So that's it for this one. We'll see you next time.